This is a honey cocoa hazelnut spread and hazelnut butter. I scaled out 500 grams of hazelnuts and spread them out evenly on a baking sheet. I roasted them in a preheated 350 Fahrenheit oven for 15 minutes. The papery skin on the outside of the nuts is edible, but the nuts taste better with most of it removed. To do this, I used the help of a little friction and rubbed the nuts inside of a towel. I rolled the towel-wrapped nuts back and forth against my cutting board. I picked through the ones on top, removing the clean ones, and worked them against the table a few more times. Not all of the outer layer will come off, but rubbing the hot nuts inside of a towel like this removes most of it. Rubbing the nuts together like this in my hands helped to remove more too. It took me about 10 minutes to remove most of the skins off of the nuts. I added some salt and let the machine do the work. I add a towel over top to help keep the heat in, and it also helps muffle the noise. When the machine was too quiet, I knew it was time to scrape down the bowl. After about 5 minutes, the nuts started to release their oil, so I added a tablespoon of freshly pressed hazelnut oil to help the process along a bit. After about 8 minutes, the nut mixture sounded like it was sloshing around, so I scraped the bowl down and let the machine run for a few minutes more. The hazelnut butter is done when it climbs up the bowl and looks oily and thin. This is because the nut oils are warm, but as the nut butter cools, it will become a more spreadable consistency. I have made quite a few batches of homemade Nutella, but when I added cold honey and cocoa powder to the machine like everyone else did, I found the batch would crystallize into a chocolate paste and not a spreadable soft butter consistency I was looking for. I started mixing the honey and cocoa into a paste, which helped a little bit, but when I started making cold-pressed oils, I could create any consistency I needed. The cocoa paste I used in this recipe was not to be overly sweet, so I used 50 grams of honey and 20 grams of cocoa for 250 grams of hazelnut butter. I also added 35 grams of fresh pressed hazelnut oil to help process the sweetened spread. I add a few spoonfuls of hazelnut butter first and mix it in before adding it back to the processor. If you add too much oil, don't worry about it too much. The excess oil floats to the surface and can be removed for a nut paste texture as well. I processed for 2 minutes more and it was ready. Natural hazelnut butter tastes good without any sweetener, and adding an extra tablespoon of fresh pressed oil will help keep the butter spreadable, same as the natural commercial nut butters out there to purchase that do not add any emulsifying agents. Home versions need to be stirred too. Chocolate hazelnut spread should taste like cocoa and hazelnuts with a little sweetness added, but this recipe can be made into a sweet confection by adding more honey.